What's up, folks? David Soto Jr. here, and this is the David Soto Jr. podcast. What's up, folks? Welcome to episode 62 of the David Soto Jr. podcast. I am your host, David Soto Jr. I have been having technical difficulties, and I was unable to record last week because of them. I almost quit today in trying to record. I'm not sure what it is because it's intermittent. Obviously, it's working now. The issue is that I'm recording a video on my phone. Now, this is probably not the best technique for recording a podcast, but it started when I lived in my van, and it was all I could do was record podcast on my phone, hook up the microphone, the Blue Yeti, through a USB hub and go to an adapter to the phone, to the iPhone. So it works now. So I'm going to record. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the anti-COVID vaxxers, which is not the same as anti-vaxxers. This is different. This is only COVID. There are people who do not want to get the COVID vaccine. And I just want to debunk at least one major myth, and then talk about some other things. I'm not an expert at this. I did a little bit of reading and research. But it's just thought I'd give my opinion on this situation. So the biggest fear is that what's the worst that could happen? Obviously, is death from the vaccine. Now, all these other conspiracy theories I'm not really going to touch on, but let's look at the fact that people are afraid that they say that it's experimental, not approved by the FDA, blah, 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 all this stuff. So they don't feel safe taking it because what could happen? They could die. Not very likely. Ooh, that's hot. Okay, so do people die after getting the COVID vaccine? Yes. People have died after getting the COVID vaccine. And according to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS acronym, everything's an acronym in the government, 0.17% of people die after getting the COVID vaccine. Now, 0.17%. That's not even a full 1%. That's 0.17 of a 1. That's 17% of 1%. All right. 0.17 die after COVID. These are the deaths that are reported of people who have died after they have gotten the COVID vaccine. These are not the deaths of people who have died from the COVID vaccine. How the reporting system works is if you've had a vaccine, it goes into a database, and then if you die, it counts as being dead after a vaccine. So was it complications due to the vaccine? Who knows? Could have been a goddamn car accident. Could have been a heart attack. Could have been diabetes. Who knows? The point is that number is 0.17 is pretty goddamn low, even though it's very likely that number is even lower. But let's just use it. People who have died after having COVID, that number is 0.17. No, COVID vaccine, that number is 0.17. Okay. How many people have died as a result of COVID? Up until the day I made these notes, it was 1.8. The percentage of people who die after contracting COVID is 1.8%. If we round the previous number that I mentioned, the people who die after the COVID vaccine, to 0.18, we just round it up just to make things easier for me, because I'm a dummy when it comes to math. Very simply, that's 10 times. You are 10 times likely to die from COVID than you are to die after receiving the vaccine. Not from the vaccine, but after receiving the vaccine. All right. Again, the numbers are probably lower of complications from the vaccine, but there's no way to record it. They only recorded deaths. 10 times. You are at least 10 times likely to die of COVID than you are of the vaccine after having the vaccine. Is that a chance you're willing to take? Honestly, I don't care. Don't get the vaccine. Take that chance and die. Fine. The problem is when it comes down to people that are around you, people who you care about and love, and their refusal to get the COVID vaccine based on rumors and conspiracy theories and false information, meaning not facts. All right. Just for the record, if you catch the flu, you are 0.09% chance of dying. So I remember how we were talking about how many people die from the flu, and that's not news. Early in the COVID pandemic, and people were like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. When people die of the flu." At the time that was thought, yeah, you notice people don't say that anymore. More people died of COVID in a year than people died of the flu. And you are more likely to catch COVID and die from it than you are to catch a flu and die from it. So my point is that people, and this is including me, I'm like, hey, flu kills more people, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was just the beginning of the pandemic, right? Stupid. But the point is that people say these things, and maybe they're true at the time, or maybe that's just their thought at the time, or maybe they're too dumb to make a conclusion, though they do. Take me, for example. Oh, the flu kills more people. Why isn't that news? I'm pretty sure I said that, right? I'm pretty sure I was on that side, one of those people. But then it surpassed the people who died from the flu tremendously. That number, if we look at 2020 deaths from flu compared to deaths from COVID, not a comparison. I don't know those numbers, but I'm pretty sure based on the chances of death here, results 0.09 compared to 1.8 for COVID. I'm pretty sure those numbers are less. But you get people who jump to conclusions, make false statements or ignorant statements, ignorant meaning they don't have enough information, and putting it on the internet, and then more people seeing that, liking it, meaning they like what that person is saying. They like that person's post. They don't know whether it's true or false. It fits their narrative. They're questioning something, or they don't feel like what they're seeing is true on the news. They don't believe it. So all they need is one little piece of information to confirm what they think. Even if it's false, it confirms what they think. So what are the? You have a good chance of dying if you get the vaccine? No, you don't. You have a 10 times better chance of dying if you get COVID. The mRNA vaccine changes your DNA. Wrong. It does not. So, why did somebody think that this changes your DNA? Is somebody got misinformed. Somebody may have read how this works, how mRNA vaccine works, and drew the conclusion like, oh, it messes with your DNA, it changes your DNA. Or maybe because Na means nucleic acid in mRNA. This is not true. How the mRNA vaccine works is it creates a spike protein, penetrates a cell, creates a protein, and yes, the nucleus is in the cell, and that's where your DNA is, but it does not have anything to do with the nucleus. It penetrates through the cell, tells it to, now this is weird, but it gives it a command. Let's see, cell makes a harmless piece of what's called a spike protein. The spike protein is found on the surface of the virus that causes COVID. It's instructions. The mRNA are instructions, and it goes into your immune cells and makes that protein. And once the protein is made, the mRNA instructions get dissolved. Once those cells those mRNA instructions are dissolved, the cell displays the protein on the surface, and your immune system responds to it. In a sense, learns how to fight this spike protein, which is what happens when you get infected with the SARS. SARS something. COVID-19 is the disease. The virus is actually SARS. It creates that spike. We simulate that spike. Our immune system responds to it and then learns how to fight it. Also known as making antibodies. At the end of the process, our bodies have learned to protect against future infection. The benefit of the mRNA vaccines, like all vaccines, is those vaccinated gain protection without ever having the risk or consequences of getting sick. So, will your body naturally build antibodies if you get sick, if you get COVID? Yes. But there's a 10 times likely chance that you'll die from it. Also, have you ever been sick? It sucks. Have you ever been intubated? I've never, but it sucks. They stick a tube down your throat. Not fun. I don't think it's fun. Have you ever had a nasal pharyngeal thing go up your nose? I haven't. But some people have. When you learn how to do that. So, the whole point of the vaccine is to create the antibodies without taking the chance of dying. It does not mess with your DNA, although where that information came from, I could see how it's just an easy way to summarize how this works, right? That it changes your DNA. And if you look at the instructions, with a picture, a diagram of the instruction, the mRNA instruction cell or whatever it's called, it looks like half of a DNA ladder, right? Spiral ladder. It looks like half of that you're penetrating your cells, it's building, it's teaching. Like, I can understand how people would say that. But in this day and age, it's easy for people to post false information. And then it's easy for people to have access to read this stuff on the internet and believe it. Again, because they're biased. They want something to tell them not to do something. In this case, people want a reason not to take the vaccine. And so they find anything, even if it's Joe Schmo website. Even if it's a meme that somebody made, right? There was a meme about that somebody posted a diagram of the spike in India alongside the spike in vaccines, and coincidental, and then overlay them and post them, and that had people drawing the conclusions that the spike in India, was it a third or second spike? It was a result of people getting vaccinated. That itself is the most ridiculous thing, that you just hearing that does not make sense. But it doesn't matter to people. All they need is to hear something. They don't have to verify it. They don't have to hear it firsthand. They just have to see a repost that of a post of a diagram of a meme that somebody made, and they'll repost it, and all their ignorant friends will repost it and say, right on, yeah. And the biggest problem with social media, I guess, or with the media, is that in this day and age, information can get shared so fast. Wrong information can get shared so fast. And it's just a sign of the times. It's just something that we have to deal with. But it's just unfortunate. I was told to look at American frontline doctors. Now, here's the thing. I like doctors. Doctors save people's lives. Great. They treat you when you're sick. Great. But the more and more I learn, the more I realize that doctors are just human beings. They're just like me. They're no different, except they read some more books than I did, or they studied a course of material. Now, if I get in a car accident, if you get in a car accident, do you want me to diagnose you and put your leg back together, or go in there and cut open your body and sew your arteries to close? No, you don't. I want a trained professional to do that, or you want a trained professional. More than anything else, you want somebody with experience, somebody who has done that before to do that to you, right? Set a broken bone. If una señora has set bones before and there's no doctor around, I'll ask her, hey, can you set my bone? There's no doctor. You're not a doctor, but you've done it before throughout your life. This is what midwives are, right? They're not necessarily OBs, right, who deliver babies. They are just women who have done it several times throughout their lives. In all actuality, experience rules over education or titles, more so titles, right? So but this doesn't matter to most people, right? Most people are like, oh, you have a MD after your name, I'll do whatever you say. And when in reality, these fools are just like you and me. They fuck up. They have bad opinions. They have wrong opinions. They have addictions. They have problems with their parents. They grew up. They're not perfect people. They're more educated than us, but they're not perfect. They're just like you and me, and maybe even worse. Maybe even a little cuckoo, maybe a little more bigoted, maybe a little bit more racist, maybe not as smart. Yeah, they do have PhDs and MDs and all this stuff, but does that make them... Let me give you an example real quick, because I'm talking way too much. I know, being out in the mechanical field, being a wrench turner, I've seen people who take tests well. And especially in the military, they take tests well. They get a lot of points. It helps them get promoted. Next thing you know, they're my boss. Do they know what to do in the field? No. And you know why? Because they're so smart that it elevated them past the actual time. They accelerated through the time that they would spend in the field working on the things. I've seen people who have high rank try to turn a wrench. Literally, it would slip and hit them in the face because they don't have that ability. I've seen people say, hey, you do it, let me know how it works out, because they don't have the ability to do it. They have the title, they have the education, but they don't have the experience. And when this applies, and I'm learning this as in these recent years, the people you rely on are just like you and me. There's no different. I could fix something myself, or do I want to pay somebody who's done it? Now, when I pay somebody who's done it, I don't care where they went to school. I want to know if they've done it before, how many times have they done it, is the experience ingrained in their head? Because those are the people I want to do the job. You don't ask your plumber where he went to school. You don't ask your plumber if he has a certification or names in front of or behind his name. Letters in front of or behind. But for some reason, people are crazy about doctors and everything they say is golden. And that's fucked up because they're just like you and me. They're fucked up. Some of them are. They're cuckoo. Some of them are, right? And then they're the ones who... But anybody who gets on camera or records media like this isn't necessarily all there. Right? So, anyway, my point is that we listen to people and we put complete trust in them only because they have a title, not forgetting that they're human and that they can make mistakes too. So there's American frontline doctors. These are apparently a group of doctors who don't believe in the vaccine. It's unnecessary, blah, blah, blah. Led by Simone. Is that right? Simone Gold. She's the leader of this group. She stormed the Capitol on January 6th. She lost her jobs as a result. Frankly, I think can you trust anybody who participated in that failed coup of January 6th, resulting in the death of 2 police officers? Don't even get me started on that. Another doctor in that is Stella Emanuel. She's a member of this, and she's the one that said, what did she say? Something about vaccines having alien DNA in them. She was born in Cameroon, Africa. Donald Trump said she's a good doctor. She's treated a bunch of people with COVID. She's cured a bunch of people. I like her, is what he said. And he also mentioned he doesn't know where she's from. She's from Cameroon. What he would probably consider a shithole country. But all of a sudden he has complete faith in her. the woman who says alien DNA has been used to, what did she say? Alien DNA, something cuckoo. As cuckoo as Marjorie Taylor Greene's Jews lasers from space, but tremendous success with I don't want to join. Okay. Anyways, she believes that alien DNA was used for I can't find it now. The point is that there is a group of people out there that are spreading false information or what their beliefs are. Will hydroxychloroquine help people with coronavirus? I don't know. All right. I don't trust the government as much as the next person, right? I believe that they're heavily influenced by people who line their pockets. I've not been a fan of the Food and Drug Administration and the fact that they don't, the fact that it's a law that only approved drugs by the FDA can be said to be cures of diseases, meaning the perfect example is scurvy, which is a disease, can be cured by vitamin C, by eating oranges. If you make that statement, you could be in violation of the law because the law says it has to be an approved FDA drug. That's fucked up. There are a lot of things about the government that I don't trust. So, am I taking the government's side in this? Or why would I be taking the government side thinking that everybody should get the vaccine? Is that it's because I don't trust the government that I'm taking their side. It's one of the weirdest conspiracy theories that would involve the entire world. I don't understand. I don't know where the coronavirus originated from, Wuhan lab, was it released, blah, 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 was it weaponized? I don't know all that. I don't care. I do care that it got out of hand. And I don't believe that it's the U.S. government that is worked this whole thing. And it's all a plan to turn us all into zombies. Here's why I don't believe that. Is it because it is impacting them? Why do I trust that the government is keeping our best interests at heart? Is because it's also their best interest. When there's when people start dying, when this impacts people you're going to do whatever you can to prevent it from killing someone you love or yourself. That's how the draft ended, right? The draft ended but when senators' sons were no longer able to avoid it. When government officials could no longer get their sons out of the draft. I didn't confirm this, but that's what I heard. So I don't want to be about one of the people that I'm talking about. So I will look that up to verify. That's what I heard. Now I'm being one of those people that I'm talking about. But it's easy to believe. It makes sense, right? The lawmakers, when it impacts them, the laws get to get changed, right? Why do I believe the government? Because whatever happened got out of hand and started killing too many people and scaring the shit out of people. Politicians, politicians got sick. Some died. Herman Cain died, right? Chris Christie got it, scared the shit out of him. Donald Trump got it. And he had the best care in the world. He's too dumb to be scared, I think. I mean, he was on oxygen. I just... Why do I trust the government? Again, because it's in their best interest. You can't kill all these taxpayers, right? Who's going to pay their salary? One more thing. If you're such a... There's a very high percentage, I'd say 98%. I completely made that number up, right? But I'd say there's a very high percentage. Most of the people who are anti-corona vaccination are also Trump supporters. I just can't believe it. So, if you are a Trump supporter, you don't trust the government, don't trust the Democrats or blah, 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 it's nothing to do with the Democrats. But if for some reason you don't want to take the vaccine, it's because it's what the people in your party believe, that you don't have to, then why is Donald Trump vaccinated? Why? I mean, how many? I wonder how many Republican politicians are vaccinated. That makes me wonder. But your fearless leader, right? The guy you worship of all fucking people, not John McCain, who would have voted for in a second. If he didn't have Sarah Palin as running. Not John McCain, but a fucking reality TV star. A millionaire is your hero. My point, he got vaccinated. This is the guy that got vaccinated. This is the guy that you look up to and want to be like him, but he's vaccinated. Why did he get vaccinated? He has access to hydroxychloroquine. He already had it. He has antibodies. Why did he get vaccinated? One more thing. If you're so gung-ho and patriotic and support the troops and say thank you for your service and all this other bullshit, if you drive your pickup truck around with several United States flags, some black with a blue stripe, Trump 2020, Trump 2024, red, white, and blue, if you are these people and claim to be ultra patriotic, but when your country asks you to do something like take a vaccine and you are saying no, you're not a patriot. If you love America as much as you say you do, then you would step up and take the goddamn vaccine. Because it is a war. This is a war against a tiny, tiny, tiny enemy. And our people of our country are in danger. And you could infect them. There are people who don't want to take the vaccine because they don't know how it will affect their breastfeeding or how it'll affect their fertility because they plan to have a family. That is the best excuse I've heard not to take the vaccine. Right? That's the best excuse I've heard not to take the vaccine. But if you don't want to do it because you're a Trump supporter and you have no reason, and you could get the disease, be asymptomatic, pass it on to somebody who is not getting the vaccine for probably the best reason, and they could die. And then the pandemic, if the more people who get sick, the more the variants, the more mutated the virus can get, the more we may have to go back into shutdown. If you're so patriotic, blue fucking stripe flag and all this, first responders, we love you, blah, blah, blah. Consider the people who have to work in a hospital. Consider those first responders who have to respond to domestic situations, when go in people's houses and go in your house because you beat your wife. Well, if you're so patriotic, you wouldn't have stormed the fucking Capitol and killed police. If blue lives matter, get your fucking shot. This is bullshit. Folks, I'm way over my time. David Soto Jr., David E. Soto Jr. on Instagram, on Twitter. I just opened my TikTok account. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some dances. I don't know. I'll probably just drop some knowledge bombs. I used to record things on my way to the coffee shop every morning on Instagram. That was fun. I could do that again, but I don't. I used to take like a 5-minute drive to a coffee shop. I don't know about, but I'll figure something out. I'll get on TikTok at David E. Soto Jr. Check me out. Instagram, Twitter, and eventually TikTok. Also, find me on Goodreads, find me on Amazon. Buy some of my books. I gotta send my. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I think I'll be able to send my kids to college. But still buy my books because I write good books. All right, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.